All right. Hi, everybody. I am Paula Ludwig with the Atlantic Institute. We are a nonprofit organization that promotes positive dialogue between different faiths, cultures, religions, getting to know your next door neighbor, but having those positive uh, conversations. I am going to show you a short 2-minute video that also explains more about the Atlantic Institute and does it way better than I can. Um, Share with sound.
The Atlantic Institute is a nonprofit organization dedicated to promoting harmonious coexistence between peoples of various cultures, faiths, and backgrounds. We seek this goal through peaceful dialogue, education initiatives, and community organization. Our dialogue events bring together experts, community and faith leaders, and knowledge seekers to address social issues that affect us all. We feel dialogue is the most important element in peaceful coexistence, so we try and maintain several panel discussions, TED Talk events, and book clubs throughout the year. These events touch on social issues, race relations, and cultural understanding and are a mainstay of our programming. The Atlantic Institute's education events are extremely important to our mission of understanding. We want to promote socially forward critical thinking to students of all ages. To that end, we have developed programs that seek to grow the creative spirit of students and help them think about their communities and the world around them. Our Future Leaders of Dialogue event brings together nominated elite students to learn from each other as well as political and business leaders. Our art and essay contest gives students a theme about important societal issues and allows them to create wonderful works of art and writing while steering their minds towards improving their world. We're always seeking ways to educate youths and adults in order to make a peaceful world for all of us. Our community events are designed to transform neighbors into friends and groups of people into a community. By associating with other nonprofits or by our own initiative, we are always trying to discover new avenues to improve our neighborhoods, places of worship, and community centers. We host cooking demonstrations of food from other cultures, work with various nonprofits to help elevate the work of others, and try to find a way to make the lives of those who are disenfranchised or marginalized better. Building a more peaceful world starts in our backyards, so we are dedicated to improving our communities and associations. The Atlantic Institute is always seeking like-minded volunteers and collaborators. If you would like to learn more, find volunteer opportunities, or just want to chat with our staff, please visit our website at www.atlanticinstitutesc.org or follow us on Facebook. We will never run out of fun, educational, peaceful events, so come join us to help make this world a better place full of understanding and unity.
All right. Um, like I said, way better than I could do it. Along with that, so we used to only do things in person in South Carolina, here locally in different cities. We are now going nationwide, hiring people who are hosts for different programs. So if you're interested in that, you can send me a message in the chat and I can send you information regarding what it is that our hosts do. Also, the art and essay contest. We used to only do that in South Carolina as well, and we are going nationwide this year. So if you know somebody who is in middle school or high school, we now call it our creativity contest, and it is art, essay, and short videos for grades 6 through 12. So if you know of anybody that might want information on that, you can also give me their information, or you can send me your information and I can send that information to you. All right. I am now going to turn this over to um, Chef Frank. I am in West Columbia, South Carolina, which is just outside Columbia, South Carolina. So, all right, Chef Frank.
Excellent. Thank you. Grazie, grazie mille. So, Paula, I just want to let you know that since you are recording it, I cannot record it. So, I did call a fib there. So, I cannot record it if you're recording it. So, that's the way it goes. So, buongiorno, buongiorno. Ciao, ciao a tutti. Allora, benvenuto nella mia cucina stasera. So, welcome to my kitchen this afternoon. We're talking about cuisines of different culture, and today we're doing Italian. So I'm going to do a couple of Italian baked goods for you, and I'm going to get them done in 45 minutes, maybe 50 minutes. So I'm looking at 10 after 2 right now, Eastern. I think I can make this happen. So this October is Italian Heritage Month. Not sure how many of you actually knew that, but it is Italian Heritage Month, and I'm a proud Italian. One of the many diverse folks that obviously we are trying to bring together here. And Italian culture is very, very big. Italian Americans have contributed a lot to cuisine in the United States. A lot of the dishes that we enjoy today in the United States, you don't find in Italy. Veal or chicken parmesan, not Italian. Uh, there's several other things that are actually not that we eat on a regular basis that are not Italian. They're Italian American. So a lot of influence to the American culture. So what am I going to do for you today? I'm going to do two things. I'm going to make a gluten-free Amaretti cookie. So basically it's made with almond flour. It's a very quick mix. It takes about 20 minutes to bake. I will demonstrate it for you. It goes great for breakfast. It goes great with afternoon coffee. And if you ever go to Italy or Greece, you're going to have afternoon coffee with some sort of pastry. So let's get to it. I'm going to run 3 cameras here. So first I'm going to switch to my overhead so you can see exactly what I'm doing. And into the camera will come the ingredients for the Amaretti cookies. Let's get that in focus. Pretty close. There we go. So what we have is out of focus camera. That's what we have. But work with me here. Something good will happen. There we go. So what I have here is almond flour, 3 cups of almond flour, cup of sugar, a little bit of salt. And this is for garnish for later. And in this cup, I have some almond extract and vanilla extract. And here I have 2 egg whites or 4 ounces of egg whites. Now, if you want to use in the carton egg whites for this application, perfectly acceptable. I will tell you from a food science perspective, in the carton egg whites, do not whip. You're not going to get the body out of that. You'll have to use actual real egg whites. So rather than dirty a couple of different things, I'm going to use the whisk from my mixer, my stand mixer that I'll be doing the olive oil cake with. And I'm just going to mix these ingredients up. So again, salt, sugar, almond flour. And why do I use salt? Anybody want to ask that question? Good, I will ask it. Salt in baked goods is basically a necessity. Salt is a flavor distributor. So that's why we use salt in baked goods. If you don't use salt in a baked good, it kind of runs a little flat. You'll get sweetness, but then the flavor will not linger on your tongue or mouth. So the salt helps distribute that flavor and let it linger in your mouth or on your taste buds. It gives it a fuller flavor. So we have here egg whites, the vanilla, and almond extract. We're just going to gently mix this up. It will come together, or it should. I've made this recipe probably, I don't even want to say thousands, but I'll say hundreds of times. And it comes together rather quickly. Feel free to ask questions in the chat. I am located in Fenwick Island, Delaware, just north of Ocean City, Maryland. and I am a private chef instructor, and all around great guy. So if you're if you're within the sound of my voice and you want to have me do something for you or bake something for you, I do sell my stuff locally. So that might be something if you're in the Delmarva area, as we call it. Sussex County, Delaware, as a matter of fact, is one of the fastest growing areas in the United States. Just so you know, a lot of folks in my age group, as we would like to say. So I have here a cookie sheet. My oven is preheated to 350. I have a cookie sheet lined with parchment. If we were doing this edited, you would not see all this being done. I would start it, and then through the magic of television, it would it would just be finished. But we're alive, so you're going to work with me. I should get about 18 to 20 of these, depending on how accurate my cookie scoop is. I'm using a tablespoon and a half disher. These are, you call them ice cream scoop, or in the culinary world, it's actually technically a disher. And they come in different sizes. This happens to be a tablespoon and a half. I find this to be a good size for this cookie. You can make them bigger or smaller. The reason why I'm using the disher here is to make them all uniform size so that they bake at the same time. And if I sell them, customer A is assured of getting the same size cookie as customer B. And that's kind of important. It also helps me keep track of food costs and whatnot. So if you're a home baker and you're thinking about selling your stuff, that's something you really need to consider, is uniformity of your baked goods. So while I'm doing this, I'll just a little bit more about myself. I spent several decades as a professional in the information technology field. And I actually have a doctorate in management and organizational theory. So, but later in life, I decided to go to culinary school. And so here I am. I was trained, I went to school. I have an associate's degree, associates in culinary arts, excuse me, from the Hotel Culinary Arts and Tourism Institute right here near me in Annapolis, Maryland.
Frank, they were wanting the quantities of each ingredient.
Sure. I will tell you. I thought I went over that. I'm very sorry. First of all, I will give you that answer. Second of all, I believe I gave you, Paula, a handout with all the ingredients and procedures. So hopefully you'll share that. But to directly answer the question, 3 cups almond flour. So if you're writing it down, I'll pause. 3 cups almond flour. 1 cup sugar. I'm going to rinse my hands. A 1/4 teaspoon of salt, or what we might call a very big pitch. You mix those together. 2 egg whites, or 4 ounces of cartoned egg whites. 2 teaspoons of almond extract. 1 teaspoon vanilla. If you need me to repeat that, I will be happy to do that. But those are the ingredients. All right.
I did find it, and I just put them in the chat for them.
Fantastic. I hope I did it from memory. It might, in my recipe, and you know, I gave you these recipes like maybe a year ago. And as time goes on, I modify recipes from time to time. And it might be that I have a tablespoon of sugar, excuse me, of almond extract. And it's, it depends on how almondy you want yours. I vary between, you know, a tablespoon and 2 teaspoons of almond extract because almond extract can be pretty powerful. So it depends on how almondy you want your cookie to be. So I am scraping this bowl out, and I think I have been able to get almost exactly here. We have 5 times 4, 20 cookies. So did I say 18 to 20? So I was right on the. You can tell I've made this recipe a lot. All right. Before I go into the oven, we have somebody who wants to enter the room there. Paula, so you want to make sure they get in. I hate to have somebody not be able to see all this fun stuff. And I have what did I do with it?
They also want to know if they can reduce the amount of sugar.
Oh yeah, you can always reduce the amount of sugar. Sure, absolutely. And I often do that in recipes. And I am searching for my duster, and I know I pulled it out because it's not in my cabinet. And so I'm going to have to go to plan B and use a big one. I don't know where that guy went to. I'm using the big one. I had the little one out here somewhere. And oh, it fell in the sink. There we go. Got it. So before I go in the oven, do a little dust. I wouldn't reduce the amount of sugar too much. I wouldn't for those ratios, I wouldn't do anything less than 3/4 of a cup. Because the almond flour can be a little bland. And then if I were doing that, I would reduce the amount of almond extract because that's kind of bitter because almond extract is basically, you know, alcohol and it can be a little bitter. So, but yeah, that's actually a very good question. I often experiment with reducing the sugar in baked goods, and I find that it's kind of a touchy thing. So sugar is technically a wet ingredient, so you have to consider, as long as we're talking about that, sugar is a wet ingredient, so under heat, it's going to melt. So if you're going to reduce the sugar, your cookie is going to be drier. Your baked good is going to be drier. Because so you can't just reduce the sugar and not reduce some of the other dry ingredients. So now it becomes a balancing act. That's why recipes are designed in such a way that the ratios are correct. So if you want to reduce the sugar, I would keep the same amount of dry goods. So as you can see, I'm going in my oven at 350.
Frank, will you step away from the camera? We can't hear you.
Oh yeah, the microphone's across the room. I'll be right back. So I'm going to put that in the oven for 20 minutes. I'll repeat all that, and I'm going to rotate that pan at. I'll rotate that pan at 10 minutes. I set a 10-minute timer. So I'll rotate that. So in the oven, 20 minutes, 350. Ovens vary. Your oven may vary. I know my oven, and I know those cookies will bake in 20 minutes. So if you're doing it for the first time, I would reduce the bake time and check it. because it's easier to continue baking than it is to unbake something. Once something is baked, you can't unbake it. So I would say set it for 18 minutes, check it, feel it. You'll see the underside of it. And I'll show you when it's done. Should be a little, just a teeny bit brown. These are going to be naturally soft cookies. So don't worry if they might feel underbaked, but they're naturally soft and chewy. So that's actually what you want. Let's move on to the olive oil cake. I'm getting my ingredients ready here, and we'll go to the overhead in just a moment. Okay, classic stand mixer. Let me go overhead. Any other questions on that? I'm happy to do that. I have a good question on the salt, on the sugar thing though, because not many people know that's a wet ingredient. So let's go to the stand mixer. All right, we're going to do some olive oil cake. And I'm going to get this olive oil cake mixed up and in the oven. And by the time I get it mixed up, I'll be mixed up. Just kidding. The cookies should be done. All right. So what we're going to do is the whisk attachment, which is right back here. You recall I used that whisk attachment. I could have used another whisk, but then I would have dirtied two products. Don't like doing that. So what I have here is 3 eggs. A cup of sugar. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the whisk attachment. I'm going to do the whisk attachment for this whole cookie. And I'm working in reverse here because for camera's sake. So I got to find let me turn this around so I can see where this thing lines up. And then I'll turn it around so you can see how we're creaming this up. There we go. All right. So we're going to get a little noisy here, okay? So we'll lock this in place so nothing flies up. So what I want to do is I'm going to beat this, whisk it actually, for about 5 minutes. I want to build some air and I will build some cream and get these things together. So we're going to start slow because I don't want things spreading out. And then I'm going to increase the speed and I'm going to let this go for about 5 minutes. While that's going, I'm going to grease my baking pan and I'm going to switch cameras so you can see me do that. So what I have here is a standard 9-inch pan. I'm going to line it with parchment. So how do I make a round parchment to fit in there? Well, there's several ways you could do that. You could trace it on the bottom and cut it out, or you can use a culinary school trick and fold this in half. Fold in half again, and continue folding it in half. And I'll show you those eggs and sugar in just a moment. So continue folding this in half. I'm going to stay in camera so you can see what I'm doing. All right. Continue folding in half. Like you're making a paper airplane. And I think I can get one more done. Right? One more fold in half. Let's see. Close enough. So now I'm going to take my pan and I'm going to measure a radius here. Let's see if we can stay in frame. Yeah, there we go. And there we go, about halfway, like a radius. So I'm going to take my scissor and cut right there where my thumb is. Now, if I've done this right, live TV, I unfold it and I have this reasonably round disc that I can place in the bottom of my pan. But before I do that, for making an olive oil cake, you want to put some olive oil in your pan. But I'm going to take a shortcut and I'm going to use some olive oil spray. So I'm going to do it over the sink. And if you're spraying something, I recommend doing it over the sink. So I'm right here at the sink. All right, I've sprayed the bottom of the pan. I'm going to put this in the bottom of the pan and give it another little spray to hold it down. And now this pan is ready to accept this cake. I'll put it aside. I have a little less than 3 minutes on those cookies, and the timer will go off. I'll have to step away to rotate the pan. So let's take a look at look at how creamy those eggs are with that sugar. That's absolutely beautiful. What a beautiful sight. So let's talk a little bit about olive oil. In southern Italy and Greece, olive oil is a popular fat substitute in cakes and baked goods. So instead of butter, we use olive oil. And a really nice extra virgin olive oil is something you want to use. The olive oil gives it a very wetter texture, a very earthy flavor, very, very cool and unique mouthfeel in place of butter. So now this guy is all creamed up to accept my olive oil. So I'm not going to dump all this olive oil in it all at once because we want it to emulsify. So I'm going to drizzle. And once this is all in there, I'm going to let this go for another 3 minutes to make sure everything is emulsified in this cake. And you know it's a good olive oil when you see how dark it is. See how dark that is? So let's talk a little bit about olive oil. There's pure olive oil, or what some people might call light olive oil. And that's really the second pressing of the olive oil, of the olives. Extra virgin is the first press. So it has what we would call a lower smoke point. In other words, at about 180 degrees Fahrenheit, maybe 190 degrees, let's call it 200. It will burn if you're using it, or smoke, so to speak, if you're using it to saute something. Pure olive oil, I'm going to let this go for another 3 minutes, and timer is going to go off in about 30 seconds. In which case I'll rotate the cookies and you can take a look. The pure olive oil has a higher smoke point, and sometimes is mixed with corn oil or sunflower oil for deep frying things. But if you're cooking things on the stove, doing saute, the extra virgin olive oil will work just fine. I also studied in Italy. And let me turn that off because I'm going to rotate the cookies. When I studied in Italy at the Italian Culinary Institute in Calabria, the chef there explained that he always cooks with extra virgin olive oil unless he's deep frying. And the reason is you're never going to get above 180 degrees Fahrenheit on your stovetop. That was his philosophy. So he always cooked sauteed with extra virgin olive oil. And smoke point was of no concern to him. I'm going to switch cameras. I won't talk because I'm going to be further away from the microphone, just so you can see me rotate these cookies. Mm. Another 10 minutes on the timer.
So did you rotate them 180 or 360? No, a fourth or a half?
180.
180. So a half
Front, front to back. Front to back.
Yes. Yes. All right. And we have a question. Does it matter what country the olive oil comes from? Spain, Italy, Greece?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. That's a really good question, and it might spur some conversation if you talk to a Spaniard, an Italian, or a Greek. What is the best olive oil on the planet? So I'm going to stay away from that argument because I'm Italian, and the best olive oil to me comes from Puglia, Italy. But my wife is Greek, and she will tell you the best olive oil on the planet comes from Greece. So no, it doesn't. The answer to your question is no, it doesn't matter what olive oil, where the origin of the olive oil is from, as long as it's extra virgin olive oil. Now, I've used pure olive oil in this, and it just, you don't get as deep a flavor, but you can use plain olive oil. If you bear with me, just a moment. So this is pure olive oil. You should be able to see it's a lighter color than the extra virgin olive oil that I just used. It's not as green. It's more of a light green / yellow, almost golden. A pure, extra virgin olive oil usually comes in an opaque container. So let me bear with me. I'll show you. So extra virgin olive oil, and this is BJ's brand. So if you're asking me, according to America's Test Kitchen, store-bought, store brand olive oils are okay. So they usually come in opaque containers or cans because sunlight especially, will break down the viscosity. So pure olive oil usually comes in a clear container, like the first one I showed you. The extra virgin will come in an opaque container or a can to prevent light from breaking down the viscosity. So there's a little food science for you. Okay, so now, what do I have here? This guy is ready for the dry ingredients. So we're going to introduce the dry ingredients in 2 stages. One, I'm going to enter in half of it. So I have here a little bit of salt, pinch of salt, always a pinch of salt. I don't need to go over that again because it's science. So a pinch is about a 1/4 teaspoon or less. I have a 1/3 cup of almond flour. This calls for cake flour. If you do not have cake flour, a little hack for cake flour is going to give it a lighter crumb. All-purpose flour, yes, you can use all-purpose flour. No problem with that. You can even, and I've done this before, if you want to make this gluten-free, I've used, where is it there? 1-to-1, any kind of 1-to-1. This happens to be, I'm not endorsing anything, but it's a King Arthur, cup for cup, all gluten-free flour. I've used gluten-free flour in this, and because of the richness of the olive oil and how wet it is, I've tasted them side by side. I've had customers taste them side by side, and they can't tell the difference. So this is a really good application for a gluten-free flour. Yeah, absolutely. You're welcome. Matt, I measured it out. I probably could have. Nah, I'm not going to call an audible. I was going to put gluten-free flour in it right now, but I'm not going to do that, but because we're all measured out. So what I have here is third of a cup of almond flour. I have 2 cups less 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour, and I'll get to the explanation in a second. Plus 2 teaspoons baking powder and 1/2 teaspoon, I think. I've already measured it out. The recipe is easily fact-checked, but there's a little bit of baking soda in there. So there's 2 chemical leaveners in there. So a natural leavener is yeast. Eggs are a leavener. As you can see, the volume when we whip these eggs up with the sugar, the volume increased. So eggs actually provide leavening and structure. Very important ingredient in baked goods. And then there's chemical leaveners, baking powder, baking soda. And those give it the cakes and baked goods a natural lift. Now, back to the 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour, less 2 tablespoons. So I take out 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour and put in 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. That lightens up the blend a little bit and mimics cake flour. So you have various forms of flour: bread flour, or all-purpose flour, cake flour, pastry flour. You go from strongest to lightest, so to speak. So pastry flour, very low in protein. That's where you use it for puff pastries, turnovers, things of that nature that need to be lighter. Cake flour, it all mostly calls for all-purpose flour, but cake flour is designed, again, doesn't have quite amount of protein, and it gives it a lighter crumb. All-purpose flour, as the name implies, all-purpose. So you can use it from anything from breads to pastries. It's a mid-range protein, and it's really good for almost anything. When I bake bread, and real quick out of camera, back in camera. So I made some bread this morning. It is an Italian loaf. Trying to get that in there's the camera. Okay, trying to get that in camera. I'm using bread flour for this. High in protein, really good structure. And this particular bread, back to the what is truly Italian American? Well, we have bread, Italian bread. That bread I just showed you is called scali, S-C-A-L-I. It is indigenous to the Italian American immigrants in the Boston area. They make that there. I went to a bakery and I had some baker explain it to me, and I said, oh, so that is a uniquely Italian American baked good. Oops, well, I'm reversing here because of the camera. All right, so let's kind of mix these flours and salt together. I got 1:22 on those cookies, so we're pretty much on schedule. So I'm going to add about half of these dry ingredients. Get that mixed up. Get that to kind of blended together. Get that in focus. You get the idea. Now I have lemon juice. I have a nut liqueur. Any nut liqueur will do. I'm happen to be using something called Pisa, which is a combination of almond, hazelnut, and pistachio. Really cool flavor. lemon juice, vanilla, and yeah, and vanilla in this. So now I'm going to add this liquid into here. Let that go. I got 26 seconds on the cookies, if you're counting at home. All right, let's get the rest of this in. And the reason why we don't add the dry ingredients all at once is that we want to make sure these things mix together. All right, the timer just went off. So while I go get the cookies, this guy is going to finish mixing. I love it when a plan comes together. So let me go to the stove, which I think is that guy. It is. It's a little hard to switch microphones, so I probably won't talk. It's mostly visual until I come back to this area. All right. Let's see what these cookies look like. Let's see if you can see what they should. That was good. All right, well, the cookies are there. They look good. I'm going to put them on the stove to cool a little bit. This guy should be good. We're going to wipe down the sides a little bit, get all that good flour into there. And I'm right on. I said 50 minutes and I'm going to be right on time. I love that. So who wants to taste this? Anybody? There you go. Go ahead. Yep, it's good. Has that earthy olive oil taste, cut with a little lemon. Oh, that's terrible. Sorry, folks. Sorry you can't have any. But you know what? Please make this at home. And if you have any questions, let me know. I'll show my contact information at the end. That looks good. Yeah, you can lick the spoon. I'll
Looks
give you a few minutes.
delicious.
I'll give you a few minutes to lick it. There you go. All over the counter. Will kill me. Although hopefully I'll clean up and it'll be like nothing ever happened.
Looks
All right.
delicious.
All right. Slide that out of the way. Let's bring our already greased pan up into view. We are going to dump all this into the pan. See if I can't make this a little more visual for you. See how silky that is. And you never have to worry about getting your butter to room temperature. So you can cream it. I'm going to have to eat some of this with a straw, if you don't mind. I don't believe in wasting it. There's some in the bottom here. I don't believe in wasting any of it. Because I am, as I tell everybody, I am a child of the Depression. So my mother, Lord rest her soul, was a child of the Depression, and I learned my I don't know, frugalness in the kitchen from her. And for that, I am very thankful. So everything gets used. Let me wipe this a little bit. I want that burning in the oven. Only one more thing I have to do, and I'm going to sprinkle a little sugar on top. And you're not going to get to see this, but after it's done, you just poke a few holes on the top. So about a tablespoon of sugar on top, just to kind of round it out a little bit. You're not going to get to see this because you're not going to see it comes out of the oven. But when it comes out of the oven, just poke a few holes in it with toothpick and drizzle some olive oil on it so it kind of seeps in and really enhances the olive oil flavor. Gonna go to the oven and pop this in there. See, that's dirty. I'm gonna go to this guy. They're both preheated, so I don't want to put it in the dirty oven. That's gonna go in there for, I have to check my timing, but I think about 35 minutes, but that's easily fact checked. So that is Amaretti cookies and olive oil cake and a sink full of dishes. Let me do some presentation here, because through the magic of television, I have finished products. So let's do that.
The recipe says to bake for 40 to 50 minutes.
Thank you. Because now I'm going to put a timer on. And it's okay to underbake this because it's supposed to be a little moist. So let's let me wipe this up. I'm getting ready to present for you. And I won't make you suffer. I'm not going to eat it. I'm not going to make you suffer. I'll wait till we're off camera. And then later on this afternoon, I will have some of this with some coffee. Oh, yes, speaking of coffee, I'm going to fire up the espresso machine. I have some ready to go. And maybe it'll be ready in a minute or two. I forgot all about it. But so for this guy, ooh, wrong camera. You're not seeing what I'm doing. Bravo. So we finish with a little powdered sugar. Who's coming to my? I'm expecting a knock on the door any minute now. So there's your olive oil cake. Get some focus on that guy. Come here, baby. Follow my hand. Ah. Sometimes technology doesn't cooperate. But you get the idea. And we'll pair that with a couple of Amaretti cookies. Actually, if you're serving stuff like this, a good technique is always odd numbers. So 3, if you're presenting something on a plate, 3, 5, something like that, always odd numbers. So that's just the way we were taught. So Amaretti cookies, these are naturally gluten-free, and they go really well with a cup of coffee, and it should be ready soon. And the olive oil cake. Now, what I've done with olive oil cake before is I made a mascarpone mousse. I can't understand why this is not focused for you. Oh, yeah, there we go. There's certain tech. Okay, so what I've done with this is made a mascarpone, what I call a mascarpone mousse. And I learned this in Italy. It's not actually a mousse, but it's mascarpone cheese whipped up with some sugar, powdered sugar, and a little vanilla, and then you fold in some whipped cream. So it's a 2-to-1 ratio of mascarpone, mascarpone cheese. If you don't want to spend the money on mascarpone cheese, you can use cream cheese. Standard Philadelphia or Brand X works just fine. And some whipped cream, 2-to-1. So 8 ounces of cheese whipped up goes to 4 ounces of heavy cream whipped, and that's what you would do. So if there are any questions, I'm happy to take them. In the meantime, you're welcome to visit my website, cheffrankrenito.com. Some ravioli. And I've appeared on some local TV. And my contact information, if you want to grab it real fast. So the QR code you see there is to my link tree, and that goes to all my events that I'm doing, pasta workshops. This is actually listed on there. So if you take a screen cap of that, cheffrankgranito.com. I am on Instagram, Pasticcio Granito. Email pasticcio.granito@gmail.com. Feel free to send me an email if you have any questions. And that's kind of what I have. Any questions? Further questions? Well, it's been my pleasure cooking with you today, and I'm looking at 256. Am I amazing or what? Seriously, come on. Am I amazing or what? What do you think, Paula? Is that cool?
That is really good. 2 dishes in an hour. Wow.
50 minutes.
50
You didn't give
minutes.
it to
You're
me.
right.
You didn't give it to me till 10 after 2.
You're right. I did not. So 50 minutes and we got 2 demos. This is awesome. Thank you very much, Chef Frank. Anybody have any questions? I don't. You are very thorough. So I did put all the recipes, both recipes in the chat if you guys want to get them before you get out of here. Also, look up what else the Atlantic Institute is and what Chef Frank is doing. I know he has stuff on Eventbrite as well as we do. And we look forward to seeing all of you again. I am going to stop recording now.